Good morning, everyone. It's Irini here. Thank you for joining me on this webinar all about how to create wonderful webinars that wow. This is something very dear to my heart, and I have been a teacher for 30 years and I've been working with women who ask me all sorts of questions, and I'm going, how can we improve the output and the capacity for women? So what I've deliberately started with my video on, because I believe that it's really important for people to see you, as well as, because that's part of the connection process. So I'm only going to do this for a moment as a little bit of a way of introduction. And now I'm going to hit the share button, which is the green button down below. So when you do your webinar, you may choose to start this way, or you may choose to go straight into, you can see what's going on now. And I'm going to go straight into my webinar, which I have created in Canva. I'm not sure if you can see, but I've got a button here that's going to get me to present. And in a moment, it's going to magically take up my whole screen. And here we are, ready to rock and roll. So that's quite the best way to get started on your webinar. So just a little bit of information. Where are we? Sometimes you have to, here we go. Click on the screen, and sometimes I can use my arrow buttons. It just depends how it feels. So what I suggest, you'll notice that one of the questions, which is who am I, question 5. We'll come back to that when we get there. But this is how I'm doing the question 5. You're wanting to create on the screen a few things that will help you remember what to say, and to also, you might like to put images. The last 2 times I did a webinar, I left this page blank except for my image and for the words that are my reminder words to help me remember the stories I may wish to share on the webinar. So I'm an author. I've written the book, The Kefi Effect, which is all about kefi and how to build your kefi so that you are someone who is filled with light and laughter and love, and people love being attracted to the light in you, and so that's what that's really about. It's also, I wrote it at a time when the good Greek girl in me was holding me back, and now I've been able to utilise that so that I can move forward and become the person I always wish to be. I'm also a teacher with 30 years experience. I started teaching in primary schools, then moved into high school, college, and English as an additional language, and I did all sorts of other things. I love connecting with kids. Doesn't matter which age they are, and I still do a few days of relief teaching to keep my hand in and to keep connected with the youth of the world. I'm a Kefi chick, and I have a group in Facebook called Kefi Business Chicks, which is about sharing my ideas on how for you to become more enthusiastic and alert, and to support you in your business journey. Another thing I love is dancing. For anyone who came a bit early, you may have heard some music going, so that was helping me get into the zone. I love Greek dancing, other dancing. I've been a Zumba instructor. I've been a Greek dancing opposites instructor in the past, and I just find that really helps shift my energy. I'm a connector by trade. Everywhere I go, I look to find connections or to create connections for myself or other people. It's who I am and it's what I do. The bamboo word and the image there is there for a reason. I've been promoting myself in business for about 7 years now, and I've done some of the classic bumbles or blunders, as they say, where I have found a niche, done all my ideal client research, go, oh, this doesn't feel quite right, and I zoom off into another direction. I pivot and I turn and I do all sorts of things. However, since I have created the Kefi business, my business hosted on Kefi, I have found that this is something that has stuck. So this is now 4 years, and it's been really exciting because I do the things that I know and love. I have a deep connection with Greece. My family migrated from Greece. My grandfather came in 1905 to Australia, and my dad in 1956. I've been fortunate enough to go 4 or 5 times, and my dream is to go to Greece with women of business and have retreats. So we're going further than Bali, where I'm going this year on a retreat. And I'm a bit of a business nerd. I just love learning new bits and pieces about business and how I can help others. So what I'm really interested now is, why are you here? Oops, sorry, I went back too far. Why are you here? What is it that you need to be able to fulfill your needs when it comes to webinars? If you'll quickly just add something into the chat box, I would love that. And I'm wanting to move quite quickly today because you've got lots of work to do, and this is what we're here for. We're here for you. I'm here for you today so that you can get as much as you can out of this webinar, so that you can create your webinar and get cracking. So if anyone has anything, let me know and add it into the chat box. What I know about from the research that I have created so far, thanks, Denise. So she's set up an online business and she needs to learn all about webinars. Perfect. That's what you're here for. What I know, so this first statement is really about you. I know webinars are essential. I know that you're looking to use webinars as a lead magnet, so to lead clients into your business. You either haven't started yet or you have hit and miss results. I've talked to quite a few people lately who have started their webinars and they can't quite work out why it's not firing, why there are no results when it comes to when they get to the end of the call and they're off making their offer. There is something missing in the way that the offer is presented, and I'm loving helping people do that part of it as well. You may find that you've got a lot of fear going on because you think you can't get your business off the ground if you can't get this webinar thing right. A lot of people go, oh, I just don't know if I'm suited to this. I don't know what to do. And how can you help me? So often people aren't sure what to focus on in their webinars. And they get, as I said before, they get stuck on how to pitch their offers. So that's the sort of thing that I'm interested in helping people with. I know that I understand that you want help to find out how to get your webinars cracking. Is that right? If that's right, can you add either a yes or a hashtag nodding into the comments box so that I know that I'm on the money, and so we can keep going. Okay, and next. So today's webinar is totally for you. We're here to get clear on some steps that I think are super important. We're here to help you focus. I'm here to help you create some of the things that you may not be sure about. I'm here for you to fast track your results. Excellent, we've got a few yeses coming through. Thank you so much. And I'm here to assist you eliminate procrastination. I also recognise that many people go, I know I want it, but I don't know what to do. There's like a gap. So what I do is I look for where the gaps are in your knowledge or in what you do, and we working together, I assist people fill the gap so that they get the traction that they're looking for. Without further ado, pick up your pencil. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound quite like a teacher then, but I can't help it sometimes. It's a bit of a thing that I do. So we're going to use, so this is the first page in your planner. And I'm going to take you through this because there's quite a bit of stuff to unpack that I haven't included because I just want you to be able to focus. So you may have set a date. If you've set a date, pop it in the comments box. If you are planning, I would recommend about 4 weeks. The issue that we have in 4 weeks' time is that we're coming into Easter, and so you've got to look out for any holidays. And so if it was Christmas time, you'd have to be aware of when people go away for Christmas, when people shut down their business or are looking to not be part of it. Same thing happens at Easter time. I have 2 Easters. I have Australian Easter first in April, and then a week later, Greek Easter is celebrated. So I have the time off with Australian Easter, and then I have the spiritual connection with Greek Easter after it. And so you're wanting to look at that. I would say 4 or 5 weeks lead in gives you time to do the research, to do the background work for what you need for your webinar. So if that makes sense, that's really cool. So if you've got a date or a potential date, you might have a few dates in mind. What I do know is that it's suggested that the best days for webinars are Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays between 10 and 2. So if you know that you are working with mums in your business, having a webinar at 3 p.m. to 4 or 5 p.m. when it's pick up school time, then that is going to be a time when your ladies aren't going to be available. If you know that they drop their kids at school, then they go to the gym, and then they come home and start doing things for themselves, maybe by 11 a.m., that's your ideal time. So some research and questions can actually help you with that. So be aware of that as well. Evenings probably won't work so well for them. A lot of people do like to do webinars at night. I find quite a few people sign up. However, when it comes to people turning up, there's often clashes. Like today, I know for sure that there's about 3 clashes of other webinars and other people in my circle and other people who are doing other things, or they're at work, and so they'll be hooking into the replay, and this will be just as perfect at any time that is for them as well. Now, the webinar title may be something that you're not quite ready for. If you have no idea what you're going to do, I suggest you leave that right now and focus on what problem you solve and what transformation you're offering. So have a think about what it is that you are helping people. So for me, I'm assisting women get a better understanding of how to go deeper with their ideal client to create a deep connection with their potential clients so that they sign up for webinars. The transformation that I offer today particularly is that you're going to get clear on what steps to take for your webinar so that you feel more ready going forward. Does that make sense? I hope it does. The other thing that I would recommend you being clear about is what platform and the link that you're going to use. A lot of people are resisting paying money until they know what's going to happen with webinars. Zoom, which is the platform that I'm using today, does have a free option, which is a 40-minute length of webinar. You don't want to be partway through your webinar and have it cut off because you have been because you chose to go with the free version. The paid version is just, it depends on the exchange rate with the US dollars, but it's usually around the $20 mark. And even if you only sign up for a month to test it, I believe that's $20 well worth spending. I have my own link. You can create different links for each of your webinars if you choose to. I've chosen to stick with the one that I use for clients and for webinars. I personally find it easier for me, and so that is something that I would thoroughly recommend. Okay, this is my favourite part. When I'm working with clients on a deeper level, I spend an hour and a half on their ideal client. We're not going to have time to go as deeply as I'd like to today. However, the thing that we're really wanting to understand is what it is that your ideal client, what their challenges are. So at the very beginning, I'm going to do a bit of talking and then I'm going to stop for a couple of minutes. The idea is to get this started. We're not going to have time to plan your whole webinar today. And that might be something that going forward, you might look at it a different way. Because what we want to do is we want to find out where your ideal client is right now and where they want to be and why. And this is a really super important question, knowing what keeps them up at night. So just as I'm talking, just jot down whatever comes to mind. It doesn't have to be beautiful. This is just a big planning day today, so that you understand what your client is about. If you haven't done ideal client interviews, I thoroughly recommend that, because you'll get some language of what they do. Or listen, you may be in some groups, listen to the conversation or watch the conversations that people have. Sometimes there are days where someone asks a question and they answer underneath it, and that is going to be really powerful for you to be able to understand. So another thing that you can look at, so that what keeps them up at night, I'm just going to check the next page what I did. No, okay. You want to know what their hopes and dreams are, what are they hoping is going to happen, what's their biggest fear, and what they believe to be true. I'm going to stop for a couple of minutes just to give you a chance. So what we're looking for with this question is we're trying to find the gap. So what does your client feel the gap is? So women who are working with me on webinars, they feel totally overwhelmed with all the things they have to do, and they're looking for support to be able to move forward. So they create their webinar and get traction. I'll give you 30 seconds more. If you're watching this on replay, I suggest that you pause it and take as much time as you need for all of these questions. It will actually be much easier. Replay is always easier when you're doing a practical type of webinar. Okay, moving on to question 5. What are your 2 main messages? What I recommend in your webinar is that you focus on 2 things. So 2 things that, where they think they are and what they think they need. So you give them what they think they want, so that you give them what they need. So I, after having a couple of webinars prior to this, discovered that I wanted to make it more practical. And people were giving me feedback that they needed something more to be able to connect and find out a little bit about themselves and what it is that I do and how I work with people. And so what I've done is I've created this practical webinar today so that people can understand it. Now, I focus on 2 things when I'm doing my webinars and I work with people on webinars. One is messaging, and the other is energy. Now, I'm flipping that to add the word kefi in, because kefi is the Greek word meaning love of life and joy and what lights you up. And when you are in your zone of genius, it's really super obvious. And so everything flows. What we're looking for is what is easy for you. What is the quality easy approach that is going to give you what you need? So what happens is a lot of people overcomplicate their webinars by putting far too much content, far too many words on the screen, so that people are bamboozled about what it is you really do, so they have trouble feeling you. What we're looking at doing is getting people to, or inviting people to feel who you are, what you are on a vibrational level, so that people know if you're a match. And they know that because they just want more from you. And that's the invitation that I'm offering today. So underneath each of those, you're wanting to have 4 dot points to expand on your messaging. So for me, some of the messaging is the structure of the message. I can't even remember what they are because I've deleted this slide. I meant to put it back in. I do apologise. So it's things like with energy, it's about how to find your voice, how your voice sounds not powerful in a calm and friendly and inviting manner, rather than your scratchy. I don't know if you have the experience, but I always used to have the experience where my voice would close over and I would feel and I couldn't barely get the words out. Or I would just I would clam up and go silent. So you'll notice that you may or may not know, but I have no notes with me. When I talked about Quality Easy a little while ago, it means that you can talk off the top of your head because you know your topic intimately. But it's also about knowing your topic in a way that is respectful of people's knowledge. I mean, I've heard people say, I'm going to do a 60-minute webinar, and it turns into a 2-hour webinar. I haven't got that time. I know people who make promises that they're going to solve one problem, and when you get there, they're talking about something else. It also keeps you on track when you are doing your introduction. That's why I had the other information before. What I found was I was going to a webinar once, and they talked about I'm not going to talk for very long. Well, 30 minutes later, they were still talking about themselves. And I found that really challenging, and they had no slides at all, which I also found challenging because I'm a visual person and I need to see some things to help keep me on track. This is why I use these. Now, all of these slides have been created in Canva, and I've cut and pasted things from the workbook so that I can talk directly to them. So question 6 is your introduction. Who are you? So if I take you back to the slide where I did my introduction, which is here, these are the sorts of words I'm suggesting that you write in this spot. So who are you? What is it that you do? A little bit about yourself. I could have put that I'm a mum of 2 adult children. My daughter just turned 18 this year, and it's like a new lease of life for me. So these are the sort of things that you can include in this to give people. You don't have to include images. I just did because I chose to this time. So moving right back to that spot. So 6 or 7 words. It doesn't have to be, it can be 5. Just things that will trigger you. The idea that whatever you put up on your screen is for you, and a guide for the people who are participating in your webinar. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about your ideal client. And I'm going to take you through a simple plan. If I'm going too fast, could you let me know in the comments box as well, because I'm looking at how to get the pace going. Okay. Who is your ideal client? Show you know her. So a way to do that is, especially because this will help you with copy into the future, are you a is the way to start this. Are you a business, I'll go a step back. Are you a practitioner, a healer? Are you a teacher? Are you you want to be a little bit specific here. Are you a mum? Are you a parent? The next part of the statement goes, who feels? Are you frazzled? Are you confident? Are you lacking confidence? Are you someone who procrastinates, who feels not good enough? There's so much of that sort of thing that goes on with our potential clients. That's why we are in a huge industry growth at the moment. When the next part of the phrase is about your. So you are a teacher or parent who feels totally stressed out about, and then the next part is about your kids who are stressing you out, who are out of control, or you are a teacher who's who has no idea how to combine your knowledge from the past into your business right now. It could be that. It's where the pain points are. So what I then suggest you do is you may have a offer, and you might talk about, because we're talking about where you can post this sort of stuff to bring people to your webinar. Grab a seat on my free webinar and let's get clear and solve your issues, or something nicer than that. So basically, are you a teacher, parent, healer, practitioner who feels that your mindset is not worthy of you, you can't get started, you're feeling stressed out, you procrastinate, go around in circles about the issue that you're so stuck and you can't get out of your this mindset. So you're going to say to them, grab a seat on my free webinar and let's get you sorted. So that's why knowing your ideal client is so essential right now. So you want to understand what will happen if she doesn't fix her problem. So 3 dot points, 4 dot points is best, because then you've got some things to choose from. Because quite often one of the ways of writing copy for your potential webinar is that, are you someone who is stuck? Someone who can't get traction in your business? Are you her problem is that she has relationship issues with her partner or husband? Is she someone who, maybe you're a weight loss person? She can't lose weight no matter she's tried everything and she's still stuck and feeling terrible about herself. So these are the problems. If she doesn't fix the problem, she's going to say, well, I'm not going to live a long life to end up with looking after my kids. Or if she doesn't get the business issues sorted, she's never going to get traction and she's going to have to go back to work in a school full time. Something that I've told myself many times. Does that make sense? This is also a good time to gauge your client's level of commitment. For example, at this stage of the webinar, I could ask a question, could you write yes if this has been helpful so far in the comments box, please? So things like that. Some people I know say, can you add hashtag nodding if this is something that is resonating with you? You can also include things like out of 10, out of 1 to 10, how much is this resonating with you? How committed are you to fixing your problem out of 10? Usually in the coaching world, people require an 8 or 9 or 10 to know that people are pretty committed, because if it's a 3, then they're not looking at changing and sorting their problem out. By making it an 8 or higher, I usually ask the question after that, what do you need so that it can become a 10? The idea is that you want people to be able to move forward and fix this issue. So what are the benefits? The benefits are things like, I'm going to get traction. I'm going to feel like I can sleep at night. The benefit is that my kids are going to see me more, that I'm going to be sorted. I'm going to be clear in my head about what it is that I am doing for my business, that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Can you add a yes into the comments box, please, so that I know that we are on track? Fabulous. Thank you. So this is also a case of, for the benefits of sorting it out for her, is put some more dot points so that you've got keywords, because you're wanting in your copy, when you're talking about your webinar, you want to be able to say, come along to my webinar, sort out your stuff, get clear on what it is that's blocking you. Whatever it is that you're doing in your webinar, these are the things that you want to make very clear for your potential client. So in your webinar, it's very nice to give everything away for free. The purpose of it, though, is, and people who come to webinars recognise this, you're here to offer something at the end, something that is going to benefit them. I today will be offering something, and it's going to give you an opportunity to learn more and to see if we connect. So is there a price for it? So my offer today, I'll just might as well mention it now, is I'm offering everybody on the call, whether you're live or on the replay, to reply to the email that you get with the recording, and let me know if you would like to take me up on the opportunity of a 30-minute free chat to see where you're at with your webinar, and to see and for you to find out about, should you choose, how I work with people. So what is it that you may need to fast track your results? So those are the sort of things we're looking at. Basically, whatever it is that you offer on your webinar, you're wanting to get results for the people who are on the call, who have come because they're looking for answers. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes a low-cost item with perhaps one way of working with you without going for your big thousands of dollars package, I wouldn't recommend that right now. People still are learning to connect with you. They want to know a little bit about you, but they're ready to commit a little bit rather than a big package. Unless you're someone that is really well known and people have come to heaps of your webinars, they're not going to throw credit cards at you if they are still learning about you. So be aware of that. Now, the most important part is the benefits of your offer. So when I'm talking to people, I ask them things like, how committed are you? What has stopped you in the past from getting this sorted? Why now? Why me? So I want to be aware of why people are ready right now. I have committed many times to working with people myself so that I can get clear, and I'm going, well, why now? Well, sometimes I've tried things in the past and they haven't quite worked. And sometimes it is trial and error until you find the person that really gets you and sees you. And that's the thing that I'm looking for. I can't help everybody. I know that. I'd love to be able to, but it's just not possible. And so what I do is I look for people who are a good fit for me, and I know that I can make a big difference with their journey towards their business. So those are the sorts of things we're looking at. I know that there are people who require support. Many people require support with webinars. Sometimes they're not sure about if they've picked the right topic. They're not quite sure if they're in their zone of genius. Those are the sort of things that I often work with people. So this is really essential. This is crucial right now, knowing what your next steps are. After this webinar, what is it that you need to do? Do you know what to do? Are you aware how to get your list started? Do you have an email list? Are you able to create a sign-up form? So the steps basically are, when you're wanting someone to sign up for your webinar, there's a little bit of design. So before they call it sometimes backward design, where you start with the list. So in your on your online email system, there'll be ways to create a list, and you'll call the list the name of your webinar. So my list today is Wonderful Webinars That Wow 3.0, because this is the third one that I've done, and attached to that is a sign-up form. The form is made in the back-end part of your, if it's MailChimp or ActiveCampaign. I use ActiveCampaign, but MailChimp has things where they're totally free. And when you're beginning in business, you don't want to start throwing money at the wall until you know what sticks. So I usually recommend start with some simple stuff first. So once you've done that, then you can create the link. And often for Facebook, I create a bit.ly link, B-I-T-L-Y, which is a website where you can go and change your long. So whenever I do my long link for my form, it's called Active Campaign Form 35 or something like that. And that doesn't look very attractive. So when I take it into Bitly, I change it. And so what I've done today is it's called 28th of March webinar. I think that's what I called it, something like that. I try and put the date of the webinar I'm doing, because when you're doing a lot of webinars, you can get yourself into a bit of a mess. And so that's what's important. So when you've done that, then you can create your post that will go into Facebook, into the groups that you're in, or onto Instagram if you're active there. And you're going to include the copy, which will include, are you a practitioner who is feeling blah, blah, blah. You can also include the challenges and the benefits of what you have to offer in your webinar. Join me on my free webinar on Thursday, the 28th of March at 11 a.m. for how to create webinars that wow, and download the planner so that we can get working together. Does that make sense? So the next step is that people will click on the link and they will sign up. When they sign up, there will be a click. Excellent. Thank you, Roma. So when they click the link, it's going to take them into the sign up page where they will, some people also have a landing page. If your copy is really good, it's not always necessary. I've done things both ways. Sometimes I have a landing page depending on which I usually house on my website. It depends where you are in your business with that stuff. The other thing to do after that is to have an email that is sent out automatically. So when it's called an autoresponder, and when the person signs up, you'll have created the email before, which is what I did. Initially, when I created the webinar, I hadn't finished the workbook. So I have since updated that with the online responder. And I also included the link to the workbook in the sign up or the lead up webinars for today as well. Did I say webinars or emails? So the couple of emails. So I sent an email 2 days ago and an email 1 hour ago, and it was basically the same email, and it still had the link to sign up into Zoom, and it had the downloadable link. And so those are the two things that I make sure are available in my webinar. When I don't have a downloadable, I just have the link straight into the webinar. Then you come to the webinar and you've got a whole lot of things to create. Slides, where you're going to be presenting from, if you're going to, what your offer is going to be, how people are going, if you're going to make an offer, how do people book in to see you. I use Acuity for my booking system, and sometimes I have the booking link available in the webinar, and this time I'm trialling people responding to me by replying via email so that we can find out if people are interested in working with me a bit further on how to get their webinars pumping. So there's a whole lot of ways to do that. Do you have any questions at this stage? Have I missed anything? Or is there something that you would like me to add in or get clearer on? Just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to keep traveling. One of the things I talk a lot about is managing my energy and my Kefi energy. So what I did today is I made sure I had a good sleep overnight. I didn't rush to get out of bed and do things that I know will actually deplete me of energy today. I have made sure I've had a good breakfast. I had my lovely cup of coffee. I had quiet music on. As I talked about before, I've created an environment where I am in my office today. So I always know I talk about backdrops. So I have a branded backdrop that I've had created with all of my other branding. For some people, it's getting a really nice piece of fabric from Spotlight or Lincraft. So, or if you've got a nice tablecloth or a nice doona cover that you can hang behind you. What goes on behind you is very noticeable in the video. And so I recommend that you think about how that matches, because you are your brand. It's a bit like, how do you, is your hair done nicely? Have you got a bit of makeup and lipstick on? Are you wearing clothes that don't clash with your backdrop? Sometimes I wear blue. A lot of the time I do wear blue when I'm doing my webinars. Today I'm wearing a top with black, which is black with red flowery things on it, which is hard to see. I just did that to tone it down from my backdrop, which is quite light, so that it helps to balance it. So managing my Kefi energy is all about what I do before the webinar, the night before, the day before. I'm hydrated, I've got my water. I've got, one day I was talking to someone who had done a webinar, and by the end of it, they were feeling a bit lightheaded. And I asked her, what have you eaten beforehand? And she said, a cup of coffee. And I'm going, well, that's really not going to be enough, my lovely. And so I'm really clear on, you've got to be really clear on what you need to do beforehand. So there's also on question 14, before the webinar, before the webinar today, I went live on my page, on my business page, Irini Callis, and did a live about today's webinar. I also went into my group, Kefi Business Chicks, and I also did a live. And then I did a live in another group. So I did 3 lives beforehand. And what that does is it helped to ground me. It helped me get out of my head, because quite often before we do a webinar, we get the butterflies and we go, because first of all, we're not sure if anyone's going to turn up. Secondly, and quite frankly, my very first webinar, all I did was go, hello, is anybody there? I was searching. I had no idea. I didn't know what to look at. I didn't know where to find who was arriving. I hadn't practiced the platform properly, and so it was quite a challenge. However, that was a story from a few years ago now. So knowing what you're going to do. So if you know going for a walk is going to ground you, do that. If you know sitting in meditation is going to be what you need, do that. If you know that you need to lift your vibe a little bit so that you don't feel heavy, then do something that will lift you. Dancing, moving around. Is your office clean? What environment do you need to present at your highest level possible? Are you clear about how you speak? Do you speak super fast? I've been to webinars where somebody spoke so fast that they finished it all within 15 minutes. And it didn't give me the time to process what I was hearing. And so being aware of that is also critical. I hope this all makes sense. If you have any questions, this is or concerns about your webinar, this is the place for you, or things that you don't know still, this is the place for you to put them into the workbook so that you can have a look at what it is you need for yourself. I hope this makes sense. So I'll give you a minute to write anything in there. Think about through all the things we've gone through. Is there anything you're not quite clear about? That sort of thing. Because now we've come to the end of the workbook, but I have a little bit more for you. So the solution to your webinar is to get the messaging right. I can't say that enough. The other component of this is to focus on your Kefi energy. So focus on the things. So you know that if you smile, people connect with you more. If you are really stressed, and if you speak quietly, I'm really scared and I really don't want to be here and I'm going to shrivel up like a mushroom, then that's also going to come out. So if you know that, so the only thing I can really let you know, share with you from the bottom of my heart is, unless you practice, unless you show up, you're never going to know how things go. The first few webinars, you may find there's heaps of sign-ups on the first one and the second one, not so many. You might find that the first one, Hardly anyone signs up and no one shows up, or 2 people show up. And then before you know it, you're going to go, oh, this is not great. What should I do? But then you change your messaging and more people sign up. This is where the gold is. It's a hit and miss and trial and error process. You don't know until you get out there. Sticking with something for 2 or 3 months is crucial. Doing a webinar once a month or once every 3 weeks is also important. But don't keep changing your topic every month. Unless it actually is such a failure and it felt so wrong and you're going to go back to the drawing board because you knew it wasn't right, that's a different story. So you need to be, what I recommend is that consider what it is that feels right for you and which suits your business and it matches what you do. So that's the whole idea, is that you're matching the outcome for your potential clients with what you're talking about in your webinar, so that you're sharing what you do explicitly, overtly. It's not a secret. It's not about keeping everything behind. Sometimes I give everything on a webinar. It just depends how things are progressing. Are you going to hold yourself back, is the question I often ask people. So are you going to start working towards where you wish to go and be supported as you do and get clear on the steps? If this is you, #nodding. Do you want to keep being visible and hope clients will find you as if by magic? This is another thing. Oh, yes, I do this. #nodding's coming through. Thank you. Many people think people are just going to show up. There is a lot of, you've got to show up first. You've got to show up and so here I am. This is what I do. If you like it, thank you very much. This is one way of you getting to know me. And so that's why webinars are the bomb. So many people tell me it's hard to do a webinar. However, it might be, you know what it's like? When you were little and you had to learn to brush your teeth, that was a bit tricky. If you now had to brush your teeth with your left hand, it would be quite odd. I know I would find it quite challenging. When you started to ride a bike, when you started to drive a car, all those things were challenging to start with. The more you did it, the more practice you got, the easier it got. And it's the same with webinars, strangely enough. So this will help you connect with your potential clients in real time. It's going to show that you're present. They get to ask questions and interact with you like we have already. So there is a reason I've been asking people to say yes in the comments, or #nodding, or ask a question now. I'm wanting to make sure people are present with me on the call. There are sometimes when I do when I'm doing more of a workshop style, I will have people actually talking and interacting, and it's more of a conversational type of approach. And that is something that I do quite often. Practice, practice, practice. I think I might have mentioned that once or twice already. There are some people who are very gifted and it just goes, it flows straight into being amazing to start with, and straight away people are ready to sign up and so on. Knowing your content is, so if you've just done some research on a topic and you're not quite clear about it yet, or you're not really sure about it, please practice it. Please talk it out. Let me tell you a really big secret. The best way to practice your content is on a live on Facebook. You can do it in your group. You can do it on someone else's group. Share, share, share. Practice, practice, practice. Couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there. It means that it becomes easy. So we want to create everything easy from what we are learning about ourselves and about how we are presenting webinars. So ask yourself, go deeper. How will webinars benefit my business? What's the point? If you can't see how it will benefit you, let's have a look at what it could be. Webinars help people connect with you. They get a taste for how you work. when I'm working with somebody, sometimes I can be really gentle and kind and pull it out of them. And other times I'm going, come on, I'm a bit like tough love Nancy sometimes. And I say, come on, let's get on with it. What are you going to do? Where are you going? We've got to get faster. Let's stop procrastinating. Move forward. Move forward. So if you're a one-to-one person, or if you have a membership, or if you have a course or a VIP, or you run retreats, people are going to find out what it is that you do, how wonderful it's going to be, and they're going to say, oh, yes. People will sign up. They will walk with their feet. That's what you're looking for. So you're wanting to grow your business. If you're wanting just to get your message out there and not make offers, then really in reality it is not going to be the best thing for you. So just to focus again, be really clear on who your ideal client is exactly. Now, if you want to get a taste for this, I do a 90-minute process where I work with my clients on how to go deeper on your ideal client. I ask questions that you don't think about. I ask you to really feel into who they are, so you know so much about them. We end up with pages. And what this does, it helps you get clear on it. So this is also so sometimes you can seed. So what I've just done, this is the truth of what I've just said. This is what I do with people. But I've also just seeded, given a bit of a clue on how you can work with me if you're not quite sure just yet. What I do is I get you to really focus on how your ideal client sees things, what they hear, what they feel, what they tell themselves or think about. I focus on their biggest challenges, their fears, their hopes with you. So those are things, and if you want to do this on your own, that's absolutely fine. I find that the deeper you go, and if you can get that done as fast as possible, why wouldn't you? Now, our big thing here is to get your message on point by knowing your ideal client in depth. It's a game changer. Let me let that sink in for you. The idea is that people, when they know you know them, when they know that you get them, then they're going, that's who I want. For a while ago, I was working with Greek women who were in pain and finding it difficult to move forward in their life. And I had a client who kept telling me, I'm so glad I'm working with you. You so get me. And that's what you want to be able to get. That's the experience you want people to have. So let's paint a picture. Your webinar message is on point and your cafe energy is on point. You know what the next step is, don't you? It means that you're in flow, and when you're in flow, that's when you know your business is going in the direction that you're wanting it to. And people can hear you. Your clients are coming. They're signing up. They might take 4 or 5 or 6 webinars before they sign up with you. They may come back 3 years later. You never know when a client is going to walk through the door. I'm one of those clients. I watch people for a while and then they go, oh, I want to work with them now. And sometimes it can be years later. And I've done that with 3 people so far. I know what I recognise my modus operandi. Okay. So for webinars to really work, what I recommend for you is to be willing to stop being invisible and focus. So get online, go and do those lives, practice your content, share it, share it, share it, practice, practice, practice. I'll keep going on like that. Invest in yourself. If you are finding in a few weeks' time that you have not progressed from where you are now, I suggest you do something about it and get some assistance so that you can move forward in a way that will propel you and fast track your results. You do not want to be the bamboo. I've been the bamboo for a very long time. What happened was I didn't get the support from the people I really needed. I got general support. I got how to do the sales from a cold call. but I didn't get how to create the stuff before that. I didn't know what I was selling. I didn't really know who I was. So once I got my identity sorted out, once I got what I do sorted out, it all became quite straightforward. But what I had to do the work. I had to go deeper. I also found in my few webinars a while back, I didn't really make the offer. I've talked a little bit about it throughout the webinar. I've sort of said what I've got on offer. I did it earlier in this webinar too, so it's not just all at the end, and I'm not saying to myself, oh my goodness, I've got to stop here. This is a point. If you have any questions, start popping them into the chat box. This is what I would recommend you do. Do your questions, get people to start writing questions, and while you're doing the questions, talk about your next steps. So I've got an opportunity for you to take me up on a 30-minute chat to go over your webinar planner. Anything that you have created. And anyone who takes up this offer in the next few days, and I'll send out the date of the closing of the entries in the webinar that comes out with the replay, because I've got a very special offer, because I like a bit of fun and I love prizes. So anyone who takes me up on a 30-minute chat will go in the draw for a 90-minute session to focus on your webinar, namely your ideal client or anything else, and then to pick my brains about anything that you'd like to. So the way to access this 30-minute chat is to email me or hit reply on the email that will come out in a little while at irini@irinicallis.com. And just let me know what you thought about the webinar or what your biggest challenge is, and let's see what we can do. And then we'll sort out an appropriate time for you to have your chat with me, which will be coming up in the next week with a bit of luck. Sure, if I can find time in my schedule. However, I hope that this has been something that has been of benefit to you. Does anyone have any questions? Once again, my thanks, Rob. Yes, I love the offer too. I thought, what would I love on a webinar? And sometimes I'm actually still not quite ready at the webinar to invest. And I usually like to get a bit of a style how the person works with me one-on-one, which is why I have chosen today to go for a 30-minute chat. Sometimes I do 15, sometimes I do 20, but it always ends up 30. So I'm just going to be straight up and say, let's do a 30-minute chat. How to find me? There's my email address. I'm on Facebook at Irini Callis. I have a page. I also have a Facebook group, Keffi Business Chicks, and my brand new website, which still has a bit of tweaking, but it's basically there, is irinicallis.com. If anyone doesn't have any questions, I thank you so much for joining me. The benefit of having your 30-minute chat with me, sorry, I forgot to say a bit about the benefits. I've got to practice what I preach here, is that you will get clear on your next steps. You will eliminate something in your mindset that has been preventing you from taking the steps, and you'll be able to do so with confidence and clarity. And not only that, you will also find that we'll look at your message and make sure that it's crystal clear so your ideal client hears you. There's no guarantees by doing a webinar that people are A, going to show up, B, buy from you, or really resonate with you. But this is one way, however, not but, and this is a way to find out if this resonates for you, that your messaging is on point, and it's something that you want for the future. Thank you so much for joining me. Have an awesome day, and I look forward to hearing more about your offers and what you do. Have a great day.